Just some map drawing music. Get into the spirit of boards. And so, bit of off-camera work has occurred, once again. Stylish orb. Well-aged. So on the Euro map, I've gone and penciled in the boundaries of all the minor countries. So they are now present and alive, in so much as their cores are now appropriately stench-lined in here. Yeah, the colors I have chosen here are pulled off of decisions I made at some much earlier point. Where, here, let me pull up the file. Yeah, there we go. So this thing, which at some point is part of the collection of gathered files that I had from other sources about the game. There was this blank copy of the Europe map with labels and strong borders on it, so I took a couple of copies of that and on some of them colored in various highlights. Yeah, Habsburg. So yeah, a pass of this occurred where I used just about the colors on the relevant counters for each country. And when you lay them out on a map, they don't look that bad. They're a bit weird. Some of the choices start to make a bit more sense. Like you can see, like you went with kind of a progression of greens into blues for, well, here, let me, that capture is a bit smaller than the whole window. Let me just adjust these boundaries appropriately. There, now I see what you see. So down here in North Africa, there's like a progression of greens and blues that look kind of alright when you sweep across it. Kind of establishes everything over here as being connected. Like, okay, here in the green dimension, that's Islam. All off on that side of the line. But a bunch of the other ones, like, it stands out how much orange and brown gets tossed around in the default color palette. Like, there's Russia up there. Just as terracotta, just clay Russia. This weird bruise that is Southwest Germany. Oh yes, I also have, this copy is colored in with the map as it is completely at the start of the Grand Campaign. So there's a bunch of countries that have holdings that aren't, strictly speaking, their core territory, as drawn onto the baseboard. But you can see, like, England controlling just the slightest bit of Normandy, just Calais there. You can see the Spanish Netherlands, Naples. Yeah, so if you just go by, like, the core lines, there's a couple of gaps where there's terrain that isn't core to any actual country, because it's not core to a major, and there's no defined minor country that would occupy that state. Yeah, there's still an independent Scotland at game start. There's... I've got to open up the rules and check that they do indeed just have Ireland pre-annexed by England. The Grand Campaign of 1492 to 1792. Let's see here. England under Henry VII, 756, dies at start of turn 5, determine random successor. Catholic, +1 stability. Land 5, naval 9. Has Scotland as a vassal, $50 in the treasury. 2 cloth manufactories and 1 metal manufactory. Controls provinces of Anglia, Kent, Wessex, Cornwall, Bristol, Wales, Midlands, Hull, Lancashire, Lincoln, March, Monmouth, Pale, Kildare, Connaught, Ulster, and Calais. Tax base 132 ducats. No rest of the world discovers. Yeah, so they just have Ireland annexed in 1492. In Europa, the board game. That feels incorrect. It's decades ahead of time for the Tudor invasion of Ireland. Was there a previous one? I don't know the full back and forth history of Anglo-Irish conflict. Intriguing. Intriguing. Arise from the depths and contemplate maps. Turn up the banjo a bit. So let's get back to the work in progress then. So yeah, all the miners are hazed out here. There's mostly enough room to start labeling. Maybe. Probably. Maps. And yeah, I have the textures off right now since I wanted things more clear while drawing the border lines. And I'm kind of coming around to just the flat colors as being alright. Like, if anything, I would think of trying to move what texture I have more towards swamp and wood, just being hints of things. Mountain might be over-designed. Maybe. Sand is perfect. But yeah, so the boundaries are all on there, and you can now vaguely see the shape of things. Present enough to be visible, and confirmed the weird status of... So Bohemia is there as a separate minor at the start of the game, and at some point the campaign is annexed. And when it is annexed, it becomes Habsburg core. So it is just drawn on to the base map as Habsburg core, so I got it double bordered for that purpose. This wonderful belt of toothpaste. And let's snap over to the world. Wherein I've pretty well finished all the upper stuff. Diplomacy labels, once again, there were these redundant +1, +1, +2, +2. Grouped them. One, the same label across many things, that's one label. Just do that. That's just good formatting. For the whole diplomacy spectrum, from married to annexed. Yeah, a bunch of the text I didn't put much effort into, like, centering and aligning all of it, but it's there, it's written out, and it can be moved and wiggled as needed. Build in this the two bars that were in between here, they didn't seem necessary, actually. Like, I can take the skin back off again to look at this again, underneath. So this top line here, completely redundant, because that's already written in the these don't exist yet box. Just a reminder that, okay, before 1615 there is no sugar and tobacco, and before 1700 there is no cotton. Except written out all the way of, okay, before 1700, no cotton. Between 1665 and, well, wait, so I'm not sure what this bottom line is, though. Progression of one case. And then some dates for various press. I looked around the rules, couldn't see any other mention of what this means. Although I only looked through the summarized rules. The full text might reveal what this is supposed to be and why it might be an important label. Yeah, for now I've thrown that under the paint. That goes into the spackle. I also didn't rewrite the quick reference stuff here of all the religion icons and bonus for same religion and penalty for different religion on diplomacy. Doesn't seem terribly necessary. I could put it back if I felt like it. It seems like you would just get to know that very quickly off of having, once you're playing it, once you know the rules. Yeah, mem religion. And the text. Where for now I've just thrown text little. Each of these is like prefixed with a T or an N, as they were written before, in very tiny font. I cut that off in order to just have a little bit more room to comfortably have a beefy font size that's more readable. I mean, besides, they're already color-coded and spatially coded with what they are. Land on top of water. Earth tone and sea tone. And the one special technology that's not a normal technology. Tercios for Spain only. Spain only starting in 1530. Prescription technology for Spaniards. I also penciled in the borders for the minor countries that exist on rest of world map. So Japan, China, the Mughals, a couple of Indian kingdoms. Want to say Mysore and Hyderabad? are what these two are? Maybe. It's written down somewhere. A couple of Arabian principalities. Sudan? I think they have this in a Sudan? I could look back to the rules to be sure about who is where. Blanking on you. East African major trade hub. Swahili? Maybe. We get a look at those counters. Or I could go to the spreadsheet. Still have that spreadsheet. Or I've collected all manner of data. Yeah, let's see. List of all the miners. Aden, Algeria, Arabia, Astrakhan. Make our way along here. Yes, Hyderabad, I was right about that. Hyderabad. Have I mistakenly drawn in a miner here who isn't on the list? Or my eyes might be glossing over it because I don't know what its French name is. A mystery. But anyway, then over to New World, and also the other thick borders here are the edges of the colonial zones that group together the rest of the world provinces. Inca. Inca is quite large. They've drawn on a pretty hefty mountain island. I guess Phil expects a lot to happen up here. There's a bunch about the rules that, as written about colonial conquest, I'm not sure how smoothly they even play out. How feasible an attack on, say, the Aztecs, who are up over here, even works if you send Cortez. And then up north here, there is a single North American active miner penciled in for events. Just this one belt actually has pogs. And time grid. Turns of the game. All these numbers need to be aligned. This was all just done kind of brutally with one big text box. Well, all the numbers were done with one text box, and then all the data with another. Turn numbers, the years they represent, and the minor tech progress markers. Which they do fit together pretty well for the squish boxes here. This whole thing could be remade at like half its original height and still contain everything it needs to do. We just need to include the little reminder marks for when each period starts and ends. All 60 turns of Grand Campaign. And yeah, when you pull back for a big view, it's reasonably handsome. Very clean. Functional. The question will just be how well all of that holds up to getting labeled. It's time to write things down. And there's going to be much experimenting to do for that, since, alright, I have to choose font colors that are going to be pretty high visibility, good high contrast, even across the different colors on display. And like a shortcut that the original material takes, if I just pop back down to the underside here, on some, he switches from black text to white text, although not on surfaces that I really think are dark enough to pull that off. These still end up not very readable. Well, naturally, a lot of these places were mangled during the scan, but that's also an indication of it not being a great choice. Can you spot Venice? Where's Venice? Who stole Venice? The front fell off of Venice. Somewhere in the Phantom Zone. It's somewhere in this glob, this smudge, is the word Venezia. And yeah, while it is neat to have the cities labeled as well, I don't think the cities ever come up as a separate thing. So, province label, icon for fort, and tax value is all of the data that needs to be labeled for every province. And then weather markers, trade zone markers, and then that would be all that's left of the Euro map. The icons are relevant because that tells you where ports are and where upgraded forts are. Lincoln here has no harbor. Completely inaccessible. Yeah, so up here on a text layer, let's perform the science. Years in Anglia. Use that to judge about what size this should be. Probably 14. Gimp, come on. Okay, so what's happened here? I clicked for only like a frame too long and wound up at 20,000% zoom. This is something GIMP is willing to try to do. I selected a single pixel. Enhance. Yeah, so that seems about almost exactly the right size to be the original font. So this would fit as well as the original text did. I just proceed to put a bunch of words on here. So let's apply some samples. Com wall here. Alright, so this font is slightly wider in some cases than the original text. That probably mostly won't matter. Oh man, look how badly the ocean names got mangled. The neon green on blue, on pale blue, annihilated. I'll have to go back to the original sheet for all the C-zone names. Alright, so now let me put the redrawn land back under there. Alright, so that's very legible so far. Perhaps a bit flat. Gonna buff these up. Get some bone-in labels. Yeah, we can never truly know the name of the sea. Yes, well, obviously, things are going to be very legible on plains, since plains is nice and pale. How about some forest? Let me label whales. Yeah, that stows up reasonably well. So, mountain. And yeah, if plains showed up right, swamp and sand are definitely going to show up right, because since they are similarly bright. So let's label a bit of Scotland. Yeah, reasonable. Mountain wound up bright enough that pops well. Solvay. Let me go get the paper. Yeah, map says Solvay. As was, shall be. Another consideration that I could have alongside this. Is would I want to, like, tilt any of these names? Up here in Burton, we've had plenty of room to write down these labels. But once I get into, you know, the mess that is the HRE, is Baden really going to look all that good just tucked away in there? Maybe. Because, yeah, for example, starting here, places that are not squares, that don't have a large enough square interior that I could just shove an entire text box in there. But, what if? Angles. And I think, furthermore, if I bend all of the text slightly, that does, you know, kind of haze it up a bit, make it look a bit less dull. Adding a bit of irregularity. Rarely a bad thing. As long as everything remains legible. Oh, this is something that'll happen sometimes. Something will cause GIMP to think that I want size 1000 font. And so March is currently written. You know, let's zoom out. Let's see what it has done. Perfect. The default size is still set to where it was, but just for this text box, Big March. Behold, Mar. March. Some frame-perfect trick that convinces it that I wanted gigantic letters, visible from space. Let's see, how much else of this had I already labeled? Just Anglia. And of course, thanks to power of computers, I can have all these written out and positioned and then fine-tune everything about them later. Could also consider shrinking down some of the labels for cases like Midlands here. Like, I'd rather that no label be forced to overflow the territory that it's in. That just seems unnecessary. Hull, home of Hull. Yeah, it stands out how many times that a province on this map gets named after the most important city in it. And so, why are the city names here? If that's just the same. Lincoln, in Lincoln. Lincoln is there. Man is drawn onto the map but not made a province. No label, no tax value, just acknowledgement. Yep. Labeling. Missed a spot. Alright, Lancashire. Went right around the Lank. What do we do about Lank? Yeah, about that way. And then, is it still text in there? Yes. So, just slightly downsize it. And then rotate it. That just scooches in there. There we go. That's Lancashire. So most of these tiny islands are part of some larger province. Like, let me... Like, this one isn't even a province. That's just there for visual sake. There's just Jutland here. And these three together are Denmark, collectively. So they would just get one label across the expanse. Iceland isn't on this or the other map. It just doesn't exist in EU0. Right now, spare a moment while I take all those previous ones. Since each of these text objects gets its own layer by default in GIMP, until I like flatten them down into a shared bitmap. And I want to hold off on doing that for as long as possible. There, so I now, just off that way in the UI, in the Abyss, I've put those all in a group. Where Britain labels go. So now, Scandinavia labels. Now we Bergen. Happened again. Big telemark here. Irresistible. Unmistakable. Telemark. Home of Cristania? Might be the city. Although the map might have this labeled as Denmark, while the counters call the country Danmark. Let's open that up again. Yeah, it's Den on the map, but Dan on the counter. Here, where the Dans live. Dan's March. So this might want like a little bit of a backing to underline it. No, that's reasonably visible. Let's back up here. It's about as reasonable as anything else. Or I could shrink it down into a tiny Denmark. Den over here and Mark over there. It's fine. Oh, with an umlaut. Just get a bunch of those stored in a notepad on the side. Yeah, so, Norway all gets roped into Denmark for Euro Zero purposes. The Union. Vastergotland. Or let me put the lines away and Lean right in there. Yeah, Vastergotland. Oh, these last two labels have wound up in the wrong place entirely. Get you out of there. Yeah, Malmo's back. Ostergotland, though. Should fit vertically? Yeah, if I take it down a step. The land whose name is long. What is that? Nothing remains of some of these labels. That's Nordland. That's Ostergotland. Sweden, a land of 3 directions. Now you might think this should be Sudland. Also, wait, Sweden is a land of 2 directions. Norway possesses the 3rd direction. That's just Gotland. Which is east of East Gotland. There it is. I don't think this island says anything. Also, what city did they put onto Gotland? I may as well leave the box open. There's going to be a lot of consulting. Scania. That might be Scania. Scania. Skanda. Yeah, Scania. And yeah, Visby is the city attached to Gotland. The box will be left open, but still set aside. Yeah, this just fits down here. Finland, which we are told is over there somewhere. And what have we there? That is a bow. Close off that group and move on to... I guess things would stay pretty organized if I start at the west, actually. And gradually make my way over. So, Iberia. Home of Galicia, Asturia. Navarra. The map itself has stayed on the desk. Yskaria. And the rest. Bring me the other accented O's. Yeah, there we go. Acuto. For Leon. And again for Aragon. Catalonia. Castile. Intense, dramatic labeling. The Balears. Estramaduras. Powerful name. Strong enough to need to rotate a bit. And yeah, there are all kinds of fragments of oddities in the board game that have survived in the video game on into the present day. Most others have perished. The original Sierra Nevada. Alright, Gibraltar. How are we gonna fit your name on you? Only needs to be a little bit shorter and then we can angle it in. bit more. The vague Spain shape over here, that is Spain's home trade node. It is worth 20 cash when controlled. Yeah, there's France's worth 40. Portugal's bubble should be around here somewhere. Portugal, where'd you put your trade bubble? Did you misplace it? Or did they not bother to give Portugal one, since Portugal will be Russia in the long term? So there's the Russian trade bubble over there. And then, yeah, England, Ottomans, and then multiple generic zones, shared zones. Netherlands bubble in there. Alright, so there's Iberian labels. So we'll head up into France. Yeah, head up France-wise, arc through Germany, and then kind of cycle our way back around. Things get very wide here. Does Guyana relate to Guyana? Maybe. No, Guyana is an indigenous Amerindian word. Coincidence. Convergent language. Provinces are reasonably big while we're in mid-France. We're getting closer to the crunch, but it's not there yet. Sevens. Alright, Limousine will take some adjusting. Tricky to consult the sheet here to be sure about things, since, as you can see there by the crumple, this is one of the corners of the map. Limousine, one of the 4 centers of the world. Yes, Barry. You know Barry. Bergens. I should turn you slightly. That's most of a fit. It is real weird that GIMP doesn't accept weird characters directly typed. These are the mysteries. Now here we go, as I close in on Belgium, the complications start there. And head out to get a source on that tall eye. There's France. There's Swamp Island. And Picard, I should just be able to twist gently. And there it goes. One fully labeled France. Now dehumanize and enter Benelux. Yeah, I think I can drop the baseline font size while we're in the crowded parts of the map. Seems necessary. Yeah, twist this. Here's Nord. There it is. That's north. Right there. The one and only. Center of all navigation. Calais though. There you are. Tiny name haver. Like 40 degrees that way. That gives me the best cross section. Just needs to be slightly shorter. If it works. There's Calais. Calais, whose name is moving much faster than all the others around it. Just whoosh. Here comes Calais. Unbelievable energy. Alright, Friesland. Yeah, rotate this downwise a bit. The hell of many tiny swamps. Yeah, Zealand isn't going to happen. That one will just have to extend into the sea. Den Haag might? If I just spin it lengthwise. Yeah, Haag fits. Holland goes here. And may just go in. Alright, yeah. Nothing is going to go in directly. The Dutch angle, which was invented to fit names of the Low Countries onto maps. An otherwise impossible feat. Gelderland, whose label sits at 69 degrees. Brabant will cooperate. Brabant is just there. That works. Everything but Zealand makes it in. It is for this reason. The Dutch began to reclaim the sea. So they could fit their country on a map. What if I split it? What about Zealand? Not to be confused with the remake. This is the classic. The original Z-Land. Move along to North Germany. Having survived the swamp. This one's Bremen. Mecklenburg has been cut to pieces. Which, that'll work out fine since this is a product of Phil keeping everything exactly level. It is the future. We have powerful technologies. Now, Kiel there. Do you just barely slide nicely into your home? Yes. So long as each place's name is proportional to its geographic size. Proportional to its longest dimension. West Pomerania. Accompanied by Ost, Pomerania. West and Ost. Ost and Wost. Now we get into the burgs. I think I can get a 40-degree Magdeburg. 45-degree Magdeburg. 50-degree Magdeburg. Yeah. Double back and secure that Münster. The original burg, from which all others were derived. The core burg. No A, B, C, or D. Just burg. Yeah, and Hulf. Naturally. I haven't relabeled Falls yet. That name just came in especially well from the source, from the original scan. So that's cool. The city of Cool N. One of the great forgotten arts. Brandenburg. There are probably some, very egregious crimes against graphic design that I'm doing by having things rotate in different directions rather than keeping some consistent field of angles. Kustrin. Alright, that's as many labels as I'll put in that group. Or, there's not that many provinces left. Yeah, let's just call this group Germany. And then put Lorraine, Alsace, and Franche-Comté in it. Don't worry about it. Falls, Mainz, Thuringia. Here, right in the meat of where all the one province minors happen. From day 0, 200 Holy Roman princes. All lovingly detailed for the single event they will be mentioned in and then vanish from the earth. Lorraine. Lorraine. Every time it does this. So let me get in there and see exactly how I'm supposed to... mix things up with French Comp there. Just the one accent and an H. This is in fact French. French lives here. Alright, Baden. Let's thread this needle. Württemberg. Any accents for you? Surprisingly, no. Yeah, it's angle it thus was. Pop it in here. Yes. That just does it. We might be through the worst of it for province density and name crunching. Snap open a fresh group, call it Habsburg, get to work. Just the Habsburg labels. This is where they go. So wait, hold on. Did I misdraw this line? Does Hungary stop before Austria begins, leaving a strange void between them? What is this vacuum wave? Okay, so my Europe political map hands those two to Austria, but they aren't core Austria. That's what's going on. That is one of those pockets mentioned earlier that is null territory. For some reason, Austria's core is back here and not up here. Even though Austria is written down as having these provinces. These are the mysteries. Schlesien. Urs, very cooperative of Urs. If it must be so bendy, at least be brief. Get that Sudeten angle. Just get in there and be sure of that. Yeah, Ostmarch. Ostmarch, Austria, Salzburg, and so on. Yeah, Austria will fit in there. Yeah, so Carnolia and Carinthia here I have written down as being starter Austrian territory. That's probably accurate. Ah, yes, in this province that was completely devoured by the Void, at least name-wise. Let's see, who are you? Yeah, that's Tyrol. Its name just landed directly on the crease. So it was consumed. Gonna label Switzerland while I'm over here. Or Helvetia. Helvetia? I don't know. I have only seen this name for Switzerland in the context of looking at this board. Now, places in Italy. Like, nice. Home of Pope. All three provinces of Papal State. There they are. Pretty sure there's no text in the rules for forming union countries of cultures. An aggressive Venice might be able to seize a bunch of Italian territory. It's a mystery how well they'd be able to keep it, how feasible that would be. I get the impression from the rules, having looked at them but not yet seen them in motion, that holding non-core territory for a long time is difficult and expensive. The revolt chart is not gentle. Corsica. Might work on pure rotation. Yeah. Yeah, for the most part, it seems that in order to respect the limitations of the physical sheet of wax paper medium, Euro Zero's grand campaign tries to make sure that you spring back to vaguely historical situations as you move down the track. It's all about earning points by bending things farther away from there, but you will snap back at some point. Maybe. Alright, Messina will take a bit of a spin. Nah, I should do it the other way. Malta. Malta. Slightly more space on this angle? No, not really. That's as good as Malta will get, unless I extend Malta. Alright, Venezia. Well, Venezia or Venezia? Zia. Venezia. Finally unearthed from the swamp after thousands of years. Missed a spot. Who are you? And just make sure that's the only one so far. Who are you between Baden and Lorraine? Alsace. Never added Alsace. Which can fit into its own south bits, like so. There. North Africa. Let's label that sand. The sand which is plains. The jazz air. Let us make our way down into the core territories of Fazan. Historic bastion of justice at sword point. Yeah, carry on through into Egypt. This, Alexander's city. One of many Alexander's cities. Yeah, cataract there. Just making sure of it. This one up here is Delta. Cartography is the art of creating pictures of orbs in extreme detail. Oh yeah, all the desert provinces, those have had their names completely mangled. Just annihilated by the light of the scanner. Nothing remains of... Wait, why are these desert provinces labeled in white when these desert provinces were labeled in black? Phil! Phil! Come on, you can see one from the other. Phil, why'd you do that? You did it right here and then you... Phil! Phil! Yeah, those are Sinai and Arabia. But Phil, come on. You knew this. Phil! Come on, Phil. What are you doing? Calling your spirit forward. The bold and terrifying future year of 2019. You just kind of look at you. Phil. Phil. Gonna need more Kirkhope. Kirkhope did Goldeneye, right? You probably did GoldenEye. Pretty sure. Yeah, these might be. I think these are backwards. Weird. Who knows? They'll fix your map. Could have sworn there was a minor country assigned to Arabia. Have to go and double check that then. So yeah, Jordan, Arabia. Yeah, the entire map is colored something. This is a line I forgot to put in, since it's off in the corner. Yeah, I'd done all of these and then started on the Mamelukes borders and just carried those all the way over. Yeah, I skipped adding some lines here, so that's another thing to go back and do. Yeah, just relabel this group that sprawled out into being a lot more than that. Then label some islands. Roads. Home of knights. Home of pirates. Hold on, I didn't capture these lines here, which... Yeah, I suppose they aren't necessary. These aren't... They're just making it clear that these aren't connected to the mainland, I guess. When these other ones kind of are. Alright, roads. There's no chance of fitting any text exactly where you are, so I'll just balance you on the O. That'll work. Ionia should be able to slot in there. Corfu, though. That's another no-go. Always more labeling. Stay hydrated while map labeling. Prusen. Poland is probably the beefiest of the minor countries. At least of the ones on the Euro board. Renaissance Poland. It's got some heft. This Renaissance Poland that controls Ukraine? Hold on. That on the map. Yes. Interesting stuff. Alright, so what do we call this powerful swamp where Leavebusk is? Oh, that's Purpit Marsh. Yeah. That's where it is. City text in black while province label is in white. Yeah, Phil. Phil did that. That's a Phil thing. Just confirming, yeah. Lithuania. No H. And then... that is an interesting way to spell, Belarusia. If that's what Phil's going for. The Smolensk. Yeah. Yeah, correct. Well spotted. Missed one Poland. Alright, another group down. Stare directly into the sun. Well, hold on. So which way are we spelling Prussia over here? Prusen again. Yeah, so Province Memel, Province Livonia is up there. Although, wait, are these separate provinces or are they parts of their neighbors? No labels. So, Livonia, Estonia, and Nua. Just a distant, tiny Kirkhope. Finally, Novgorod. Or Novgorod. Now was Garad. Yeah, it's all no V's over here. W's only. Moscow. And the entire step. There it is. That's the spot. Ah, the Crimean Abyss. We've circled around. You had to rewrite a couple of these immediately after the scan, just because that's how destroyed they were during the read-in. Completely illegible. And then there's some that I just let fall into nothing. They'll never know the name of this swamp near Azov. The crime is unsolvable. Pex, which had not yet unified with Buddha. This is actually the case, that the city of Budapest, it's two sister cities that fused. They're on opposite sides of the river. And they combined. Bug. Bug of swamp. There, the true Dracula has been labeled. Do not be fooled. Only face Dracula in Transylvania if you want the bad ending. If you're doing any percent. Yeah, so this is a pocket that's been drawn between borders for the moment, but this one I know that Serbia and Bosnia are Ottoman controlled at start, and all the coast here is Venetian controlled. Or Ragusa might be in Ottoman hands instead? Something like that. The Ottomans and Venetians have a border here they can fight over. Okay, first time in a while we've had to do any surgery to get a name into place. Yeah, probably just a 45-degree twist there. Perfect. Decisively close enough. Well, now we have to deal with Corfu. By ignoring it for just a little longer. Then a moment to dig up an acute A. Pop that into place. Corfu, why can't you be more like Ionia, which is just going to work? It just works. Ionia, don't worry about it. Got there? Corfu, which has 2 tax base. Making it equal to Moria. Couldn't you have, like, chopped a bit off of this to make room to extend Corfu? Make it anything but the tiniest mote of land. And this will be the last stretch of labeling. Up Anatolia into the Caucasus. And then wrapping around to Crimea. At which point it must then, the full circuit be done again for numbers. There's room for numbers. Or is it Trabzon? Nope, Trabzon on this map. So Persia here actually extends out onto the rest of the world map. It has like 3 additional provinces that are on the other map, but are still treated like Europe provinces for mechanic purposes. They just didn't fit. Georgia Classic. Home of the first George. And what should be the last need to unfold the map. To confirm what fell into the swamp. That is Kirch. Kirch is here. And Crimea. Final E? Maybe. Let's check. Yeah, I should lighten up the forest color a bit. If I'm going to keep black text. It holds up fine on all the other terrains. Forest is just a bit deep. You. Courland. Spelled thusly. And otherwise, got him? Got him. Full tour of every Euro province. To the right of Syria is Iraq. So that's a matter of, here, let me, just the, yeah. So the capture area that OBS is using is a bit smaller than the window. There's a little bit of phantom space just off this edge that I can see that isn't on the stream. Yeah, there we go. Labeled Europe. Guess I should brighten up the wood texture. Or the underlying wood color. Well, the wood texture wound up pretty bright, so if I just dial that up... Well, no, when I dial it up, it becomes more obvious where the edges are. Over in Russia. So this is the right level of blending. I just need to brighten the underlying shade. That'll be easily color correctable. And that's a very important step closer to done with this map. At this rate, they might be in a playable state by the end of the month. Which would, once again, put the countdown, the timer, over to finding a crew. Which could be made a bit easier, because while looking through the rules for other things, there are variant rules for a 5-player grant campaign. Where what happens is, at the beginning, the person playing England also plays Venice. They receive credit for the average of England and Venice's scores for that duration. And England and Venice are not allowed to conduct any mechanical diplomacy with each other. They need to maintain quarantine. England and Venice may not touch. Then, when Venice is done, and the Venice player would be going to the Netherlands, every player gets into an auction to buy the right to play the Netherlands. You do a quick mini-game of everyone writes down a bid, and you reveal simultaneously how much you're willing to spend to control the Dutch. And then whoever wins control of the Netherlands, that same diplomatic quarantine applies. You're not allowed to engage in any diplomacy directly from the Netherlands to your other country. And you may not create a situation in which you would be fighting yourself. Because, you know, the regular quantum leap flow of the campaign wasn't enough. Start the minigame. Rotate the board. Yeah, controlling two nations would probably still be pretty powerful. You'd have a lot of ability to leverage your countries off of each other, even if they aren't allowed to formally enter the same conflicts together. That would only be held back by, again, the averaging of scores that then happens between points your country would have earned and points the Netherlands would have earned. Since a lot of your points also come from each country has a list of objectives that they can pick out. Alright, so you know, we're in the wind down. Let me snap open the rules here. The annotated rules. Which, let's see, I had a capture in another scene that had been set up to grab a PDF reader. Let's go ahead and create another. Or, yeah, right, I can just add a clone of the existing capture, which, yeah, there we go. And then rein this in a little bit. So you're looking at the, I mentioned at some point, the, like, cleaned up and trimmed down version of the rules of Europa. Formatted into board gaming law. So let's see, where's objectives? Victory points of the Grand Campaign. Yeah, here we are. Period objectives. So you have a list of them, and you rank them from A to D. At the start of each block, you bet on how many 154 pages this is. You bet on how likely you think you are to claim your objectives, and then, based on your confidence, that's how much you will win if you succeed or lose if you fail. And then there's a bunch of end-of-game bonuses for various large campaign objectives, which are, again, points for success and punishments for failure. Yeah, there's the 5-player campaign variant. And here we go. Here's an objective chart. Here's England. So at the start of the game, you say, keep Scotland vassalized, control Calais, control Gascon, control Guyenne. Every other English province that was not controlled in 1492 or a vassal in Europe. Just miscellaneous additional land. Own 4 manufactories or have no active Irish revolts. And you rank of each of these from yes, definitely, to not at all. And then this carries on into the deep. And then for all of the Christian majors, a lot of them have modifiers for did you go Protestant or Counter-Reformation. England is highly encouraged to protest. But you know, maybe you choose not to. Maybe you have a Catholic England strat that you want to pull off somehow. But yeah, so a lot of the objective grids involve you going after your natural rivals and trying to rough them up and take their stuff. So, yeah, Venice, Netherlands. So, these are Venice objectives, these are Venice objectives. Monopolize the Turkish trade zone. Think you can do it? Think you can take them on? And then starting here, Dutch objectives. Which, like, okay, have a lot of trade power, have colonies, successfully rebel against Spain. If England is Protestant, the Netherlands gets points? Controlling more land in Europe, 3x value if it's Flanders. And Protestants win in the wars of religion. Which, so, yeah, like, obviously, if you are running as a Catholic power, then the Netherlands, with their very Protestant mission lineup, is going to be mostly contradictory to what you're doing with your main country. So you wouldn't be wanting to buy into Netherlands, because then you'd be dragging your score down, because your two countries would be working in opposite directions. No French province adjacent to the Netherlands national provinces. Repel the Frank. Establish a buffer. Oh, and Austria has exactly 2 periods worth of objectives for that second leap that can be done. The 5-player rules don't mention becoming Austria. I guess that's just taken off the table. You buy the Netherlands and that's it. Or, okay, so Holland controller immediately chooses objectives while Holland is controlled, etc., etc. At the start of period 4 and 5, Holland is bid on again, with the addition that Spain may now bid for. I didn't read the rest of these rules. I stopped at the concept of a Dutch auction and went off to elsewhere. Yeah, Spain may now bid for control if Spain has recognized Holland and the 30 Years' War event has been marked off as completed. The beginning of period 6, if Habsburg is dissociated from Spain, Spain may, if it chooses, become the primary controller of Austria. Holland becomes a minor country, and Spain is now bid upon as above. Spain decides to become Austria as their main, and then Spain, now vacated, becomes the bonus country that people buy control of. Rotate the board. Speaking of, so down here, here's the data for the minor countries. Which maybe I can look through here and find that mystery land. Let's see, religion and the preference string. This is who in order gets to control this country when they become active. So Aden here, Turkey, Portugal, Venice, France, Spain, England, Russia, Netherlands. The first of these, who is not currently fighting Aden, gets to control them and earn points. They have this basic force. They have this many soldiers of this spread. And they have these features. Oh, wait. Alright, no, so that's not yet. They're up there. But these notes will help us find them. So yeah, the rest of the world miners, they note exactly what holdings you should consider them to have. So, Algeria, Arabia, Astrakhan, Baden, Bavaria, Berg, Bohemia, China, Crimea, Cyrenaica, Denmark, Genoa, Habsburg, Hanover, Hansa, HRE, Hesse, Hungary, Hyderabad, Iraq, Kazan, Knights, Kuln, Latvia, Rain, Mamluks, Milan, Mogul, Moldavia, Morocco, Mysore, Netherlands, Japan, Ohio, Oman, the Pope, Parma, Persia, Falls, Poland, Portugal, Prussia, Russia, Saxony, Savoy, Scotland, Sibir, Steppe, Sudan. Yeah, so Sudan was over there. That was passed by, near Egypt. Sweden, Switzerland, Thuringia, Tuscany, Tripoli, Tunisia, USA. This happens in the late game. Also here, F asterisk. France gets to operate the USA, unless France is having the USA rebel out from under them. In which case, England immediately jumps the line and controls the USA. Venice, Wallachia, Württemberg. And that's it. Wait, I think I know what it is. Hold up, let me roll back up this again. Oman. Oman has colonies in Zanzibar. That's what it is. That's what was highlighted with those lines on the map. Oman has territory in East Africa. That's what it is. In Zanzibar and Tanzania. Makes sense. Here's a revolt table. You roll to see who's getting a revolt, and then roll to see where. Where, just remembering off the top of my head from elsewhere, if a revolt happens in one of your core provinces that you don't control, that's a patriot revolt against the occupier that's trying to give it back to you. That's how that happens. If it's one of your cores proper. Note as well that some places show up more than once. Also, Portugal has a slot for everywhere else. Somewhere in the world. And there's different revolt tables for each period. So people's revolt risk fluctuates over time. There's 2 Englands here. But then there's 3 Turkeys here. Stability just changes as time flows. spreadsheets. Here's your handy economy sheet for keeping track of your economy. This 69-line form that contains everything you need to process the economy. And yeah, there we go. It's out of this document. There's that map, the foundation on which the clean Europe map. So I could get labels for all the C zones off of this. Helpful. To have all that without needing to go back to the map. There's a lot of words in the rules to the Europe. An entire universe of Europes.